Disney is expensive. That's not really a secret. In the 5 decades since the opening of the Walt Disney World Resort, the cost of a trip to the Vacation Kingdom has far outstripped the rate of inflation. And in the more recent years, as Disney has decided to target a higher earning demographic of guests, that issue has only got worse. But despite reports of emptier than normal parks this summer, reports that I can confirm are true, demand during the COVID recovery hit all-time highs. And that demand drove guest spending to record levels, driven by additional things like Genie Plus. Reports last year even found that 18% of people are willing to take on debt to fund their Disney vacation. So that got me thinking, with costs up and crowds everywhere, at least until this summer, what is the cheapest way to experience Disney? Where do you get the most for your Disney dollar, or pound, or euro? And I think I know. And surprisingly, I think that place is Disney Cruise Line. Now that may not make sense to you. It didn't make sense to me at first, but I think I can prove that's true. And that's what I'm going to do today on today's episode of Richard Vlogs Disney Opinion. Hello, welcome back to Richard Vlogs Disney. My name's Richard, I make Disney vlogs, obviously. And welcome to the first episode of an irregular series I've decided to make, where I'm going to tackle some of the strange questions I ask myself whenever I'm on a Disney holiday, like, is Universal Orlando actually a better all-round resort than Walt Disney World? Is the best Disney World Deluxe resort actually a moderate? And has all the construction at Epcot really been worth it? But those are opinions for another day. Today we're going to start with the first thing I asked myself, which was, is Disney Cruise Line actually the cheapest way to Disney? But before we get there, I am going to invite you to subscribe. So make sure you've clicked that subscribe button and the bell so you get notified of any future vlogs we release. And make sure you stick around to the end of this episode, because I'm going to be telling you when those future vlogs will be. It's no secret that I love Disney Cruise Line. But when I talk to people about it, they tell me it's too expensive and it's really bad value for money. Now, it's true that there are other cruise lines out there that will sell you a cruise holiday for a lot less money than Disney. I think that just goes to show that there is a cruise line out there for every budget and taste. But to decide if Disney Cruise Line is specifically bad value for money, it really depends on your definition of the word value. The Oxford Dictionary defines value as how much something is worth compared to its price. So yes, value can mean cheap or cheaper than average. Think about value ranges in your local supermarket. But when you go back to that original definition of how much something costs compared to how much it's worth, I think the value proposition of Disney Cruise Line is much better than that of other Disney holidays. And that's what I'm going to try and compare. I think to truly understand Disney Cruise Line, however, you have to go back and understand a little bit of its history. How did it start? Where has it come from? And where is it going next? The short version is, the history of the Disney company and cruising does not start with Disney Cruise Line. It starts much earlier, in the 80s, with another company called Premier Cruise Line.
The official cruise line of Walt Disney World brings you the cruise that comes with a Walt Disney World vacation free. 3 full days include hotel, rental car, and admission to it all, with a luxury 4-night cruise to the Bahamas from Central Florida. Ask your travel agent about Premier Cruise Line's Cruise and Walt Disney World Week, the magic vacation combination.
In 1983, Premier Cruise Line became the official cruise line of Walt Disney World. Now, this agreement allowed Premier Cruise Line to put Disney characters on their ships and allowed the selling of combination vacation packages that included a trip to Walt Disney World and a Bahamas cruise. Known as the Big Red Boats, Premier Cruise Line was based at Port Canaveral. And in fact, if you have sailed from Port Canaveral, you may recognise this building. It's now the Canaveral Port Authority, but this used to be the head office of Premier Cruise Line. But when it got to the early 90s, it became very clear that Premier Cruise Line wasn't keeping up with the industry. In 1990, the Carnival Corporation took delivery of the Carnival Fantasy, then known as just the Fantasy. At 70,000 gross tons, it was at the time the largest cruise ship ever built, and it was nearly double the size of the largest of the Big Red Boats. It was clear at this point that Premier's strategy of buying and renovating older ships just wasn't going to cut it in a growing cruise industry, and Disney was really starting to take notice. Disney would end the partnership in 1993. Premier would replace the Disney characters with those of Looney Tunes, and kind of push on. But the industry continued to leave it further and further behind. So then, in 2000, when some people were on their cruise holidays, Premier Cruise Line filed for bankruptcy. The ships were seized where they were docked, and passengers were flown home on a first-come, first-served basis. But Disney pushed forward, and then, in 1998, it took delivery of the Disney Magic.
I christen thee, Disney Magic. God bless this ship and all who sail upon her.
This was quickly joined in 1999 by the Disney Wonder, and both of these ships were home ported at Port Canaveral, and this allowed the continuation of the selling of the mix of Disney World and cruise vacations. But now Disney controlled the entire experience. With this control, Disney could do everything that they wanted to do that they couldn't do with Premier Cruise Lines. Being a family business, they'd never wanted casinos on their ships, so these were removed on the Disney ships and replaced with more kids facilities, which were much larger and grander than any other line. The Dream and the Fantasy entered service in 2011 and 2012 respectively, and then, after some COVID delays, we got the Disney Wish in 2022. This is the first of 3 new Triton-class ships, the next being the Disney Treasure, due to launch in 2024, and then a yet-to-be-named ship due to launch in 2025. So now we know a little bit about the history of Disney Cruise Line. Let's get to the question, is it the cheapest way to Disney? It's hard to build an apples-to-apples comparison when you're dealing with a cruise line and a theme park resort. But I think we can come up with a daily cost including everything that you would need and compare the two to see which really is cheaper. I've chosen September 2024 as the month for the experiment because September is a low season for both the theme parks and for the cruise line. Prices fluctuate, and these prices may be wrong by the time this video uploads, but they'll work for the basis of this experiment. Hotels at Walt Disney World break down into 3 categories: value, moderate, and deluxe. The value category is Pop Century, Art of Animation, and the All-Star Resorts, and generally is the cheapest hotels that are available on Walt Disney World property, though Art of Animation would definitely have something to say about that. They contain 1 retail location, 1 quick service restaurant, and then a number of pools with a pool bar. Moderate resorts will contain everything that a value resort does, but will also include a table service restaurant. The pools will also be more heavily themed and will normally include a slide. Also, the rooms generally will be of a larger square footage. And then finally, there are deluxe resorts. These are the top Disney resorts. We're thinking the Polynesian, the Grand Floridian, Animal Kingdom and Wilderness Lodge. These have everything that the other categories have, but will have multiple table service restaurants, a gym, sometimes a spa, and many other deluxe amenities that set them apart. They also often offer the best access to Disney parks. Think the monorail loop, or how easy it is to walk into Epcot if you're staying at the beach club. Now what about Disney Cruise Line? They don't have different categories of ships, but they do have different categories of rooms. Now these categories are inside stateroom, ocean view stateroom, veranda stateroom, and concierge level. For simplicity, we're going to focus on the most common room type, that is a deluxe stateroom with veranda. Basically, a balcony cabin. This also works very well with the comparison to Disney resorts because there is no hotel room in a Disney resort that doesn't have an outside window. So now we know what we're comparing. How are we going to compare it? What kind of resort is a Disney Cruise Line ship? Well, when you consider that they have at least 3 table service restaurants, a buffet, quick service locations, kids clubs, a theatre, bars, lounges, a cinema, it becomes quite clear that these are not value or moderate resorts. These are deluxe resorts, and in my opinion, they are the best deluxe resorts. So that is what we're going to compare, the price of a Walt Disney World deluxe resort to the price of a Disney Cruise Line vacation. To get the average cost per night of a Disney Cruise Line trip, it was pretty easy. You just take the cost of a veranda stateroom, divide it by the number of nights that we are sailing, and do that over the month of September. This gives us an average of £570 or $762 and €660 per night, based on 2 adults sharing a room. As I've stated before, of course this price will fluctuate, and this price is heavily affected by things such as the Alaska and Europe cruises that sail in the Northern Hemisphere summer. These really do pull the average price up, coupled with the fact that Disney places a premium, if you want to get right now, on the Disney Wish. For other context, if we focus purely on the Disney Magic, which was sailing a 3 and 4 night rotation out of Fort Lauderdale, the average cost per night comes down to £490, which is quite the difference. We also haven't spoken about the differences between guaranteed rates and standard rates. When you book a cruise, you get the choice to choose your room or let the cruise line choose it for you. You choose a category and they guarantee you a minimum of that room. Disney does this on sailings that they need to boost bookings on, and generally these rates will come with an incredible discount, but neither the cost for just the Magic or the guaranteed rates are what we're focused on for this particular experiment, so we will go with our original number. Included in the cost is of course your room, plus your food in the 3 main dining rooms and any other food that you would get from the buffet and the quick service locations. Also included is your activities, and depending on the length of your cruise, a show most nights in the Walt Disney Theatre. The average cost per night in a Disney Deluxe resort was a little harder to figure out. That's because Disney Cruise Line has a very set sailing times that it's very easy to just divide the price by those number of nights. Whereas with Disney hotels, they work on a much different dynamic pricing structure, and sometimes Disney will withhold availability to try and force bookings into other less booked hotels. So searching may return no results, or you might find that the prices are highly increased as certain room types aren't available. So to compensate, I searched for every weekend in the month of September. I took all of those prices and divided them by the number of weekend nights, and came to an average cost of £540 per night. I did the same with weekdays and came to an average cost of £510 per night, which was honestly quite a bit more than I was expecting. I thought the weekdays would come with a much higher discount. Averaging this across the week, we get to an average cost per night of £522. Now that gets you your hotel. That's it. There are some activities in your hotel, such as movies and activities by the pool, but nothing in comparison to what you would get on cruise line. It also doesn't include your food. Now, as committed as I am to the experiment, I really didn't feel like sitting and averaging out the cost of each meal in every sit-down restaurant in Walt Disney World. Besides, Disney kind of does that for us by offering us the Disney dining plan. Now on Disney Cruise Line, you could, if you wanted, eat in a table service restaurant for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now the closest we can get for Disney World is the standard dining package, and that costs $77.99 per person per night. So we will add this to the cost of our Disney World holiday. We then come to the main one, park tickets. Now I really thought long and hard if I was even going to include park tickets. There is no comparison to something on offer on Disney Cruise Line. There is no theme park at sea, as amazing as that would be. But when I thought about it, park tickets are just an integral part of a Disney World vacation. Very, very few people will go to Disney World and not go to the theme parks. So I've decided that we are going to include these. I've decided to use the Disney Magic ticket, which is only available to UK residents. It comes in 7 and 14 night flavours, and it actually costs the same. So depending on how many days you intend to spend in the Disney park, your average visit cost will really fluctuate. So what I've done is I've averaged these tickets and put a daily cost on that, and that comes to £49 per person per day. Obviously there are other ticket types available, and when you buy and where you buy them will make a big difference to the cost. But to keep it simple, this is the option that we've gone with. So we add everything together and we come up to an average cost per day of a Disney World vacation of £776. And that's what I'm talking about. That's 36% higher than the cost of a Disney cruise. Now I could just end it there, thanks very much, point proven, but there are a couple of pretty big asterisks to this. I obviously understand that cruising is not for everyone. I also understand that not everyone is interested in getting the cheapest way to Disney. You may just really, really want to go to Walt Disney World, and this isn't going to affect that decision making at all. But if you're just after a Disney fix, Disney Cruise Line is the best way to go. And researching, I found out I wasn't the only person that had this thought. The website NerdWallet had done this exact thought experiment. I promise I didn't copy. I had this idea nearly a year ago, but they came to the exact same conclusions, and they did a far more intensive experiment. They even took into consideration value, moderate and deluxe options. And in every option, Disney Cruise Line was the cheapest way. And the biggest difference, the biggest gap between two prices was in the deluxe column. That is where Disney Cruise Line becomes the best value proposition. So there you have it. If you want as much Disney for as little outlay as possible and as much deluxe Disney, I suggest having a look at Disney Cruise Line. I think that's a brilliant opportunity for me to announce our next series. Roberto and myself will be boarding the Disney Dream from Southampton on a 4-night cruise to Spain. We're very, very excited. There will of course be vlogs starting in September. So like I said before, make sure you're subscribed, click that notification bell because new vlogs are coming very, very soon. But for now, leave me a comment on this video. Do you agree with my opinion? Do you have some opinions that you think need a little bit more investigation? Let me know down below. If you have enjoyed the video, please do like it as that really helps me out. Follow me on Instagram and Threads, and I'll see you very soon.